I'll do a little bit of an introduction. Russ is the co-owner of Comfort Keepers, Northwest Michigan, with his wife Leslie. He, as you can see, is in a number of leadership positions, including advocacy groups. He does a lot of work in Lansing to advocate for the industry. And he is currently the chairman of the board for the Small Business Association of Michigan. I'm not going to read you this whole thing. He also happens to be my dad, so I think it's pretty cool. But he has owned a number of small businesses over his career. Also worked in marketing before that. And so he's going to talk a little bit today about building your personal brand, and then Deb and I are going to talk a little bit about taking that personal brand and putting it into the digital space. So I will let you take it.
Which is oh so important. I'm glad we have young people to talk about that. So if we could, I would just like to learn who's in the room, since there's a small number of us. Tell me your name and where you grew up and what do you hope to do when you're done with college. And since I'm looking right at you, I'm going to start right here.
My name is Tanisha Perkins. I graduated from Northwood a couple years ago.
Oh, great.
2016 in marketing with a minor in management. And I'm from Flint, but I've lived in Saginaw for years now. So, but I'm hoping to move to Texas.
Oh, okay.
Probably in the fall, beginning of the fall. But I'm looking to branch out into marketing. Eventually, I want to do something with real estate. I'm here today because I understand how important it is to develop a website. So,
Beautiful, beautiful.
I'm Lance. I grew up in Midlands. I don't know exactly what I want to do after I graduate, so I'm only a freshman. And I'm here today because I understand developing a website is extremely important, just like Tanisha.
Great. So after multiple careers, I still don't know what I want to do yet. So that's perfectly okay, Lance.
My name is Brad Summer. I grew up in Midland as well. After graduation, I'd like to get into corporate marketing and strategic consulting.
You got something specific in mind?
Yeah, I've been looking at a couple of programs.
Tell me about it.
General Motors has a post-graduation track program that's really kind of piqued my interest. And I've worked with a couple of small consulting firms when I was younger. And the work they did was kind of interesting. So just trying to find a bridge between the two.
Very cool. Good luck.
My name is Nick Andrews. I'm a junior here at Northwood. I study entrepreneurship and finance. I'm kind of looking at financial advising or just for sure running my own business eventually, creating a product and formulating a business around that. I'm just super excited to be able to try something new, and I've got a lot of stuff I want to kind of show off to employers, and I think it's the best way to just give them my website, and there it is.
Wonderful. Got a lot of pressure on the website thing today, huh?
I'm Tyler O'Keefe. I'm a senior studying marketing, minor in management. After graduation, I'd like to find a job and help companies build their brand. So I think, and right now, since I am senior applying for jobs, I think building your personal brand is obviously important. So yeah, come out and learn a few things.
Great, great. So we're a small group. This is very informal. Ask questions as we go. That doesn't bother me. It probably is way better for me that way because I got a tendency to race through this stuff all the time. So I'm here to talk about your personal brand, and I'm thrilled to do this, to talk to you folks, because this really didn't dawn on me until I was probably halfway through my career as a professional, that this was important and I needed to think about this. My personal brand was kind of given to me by how I was raised and my first employers and how they perceived me. So for you guys to start thinking about this now, you're way ahead of the curve. So I know what that means for me. Do you know what it means for you? That's the question today. So we'll talk a little bit about this. So a little bit about who I am. Allison told you a little bit about me. I am a small business owner. This is my wife and partner, and we figured out a way to do this almost 20 years ago, to run businesses together, because we understood each other's personal brand, and what was important for Leslie to feel successful is way different than what it was for me to feel successful. So we learned a lot about that, and that's why I have this as me as being a partner. And I'm very proud of this picture because this is us with our small business winning a national award last year. We were the #1 franchise in the nation, so we were very proud of that. And the rest of those people are leaders from our corporate office, and the ladies are all part of our team that helps run our business. Our business is called Comfort Keepers, and it is part of a franchise system, and we own the franchise that is Northwest Michigan. So if you're familiar with Northwest Michigan, we basically have clients and employees spread out from Manistee, Michigan, up to the bridge. So we've got people spread out all across that area. And what we do is we take care of seniors and help them stay comfortable and independent in their homes. So our employees go into the seniors' homes and help them with their meals, help them with transportation, help them with anything that can help them stay independent in their home. That might be getting them to their doctor's appointments, that might be medical care that they need to stay in their home, but that's what we do, and we have about 200 employees that do that. It's a challenge for us to do that because unlike many employers that all of their employees come to one location in a day, our 200 employees all go to different locations every day. So communicating with them is always a challenge, and we're always figuring out different ways, and there's always innovations. I just got an email from a company that is nothing but a texting platform, so that we would send everything, all of our communications through a texting platform to our employees. And since we have employees that are millennials all the way to employees that are seniors, you have to figure out how that's going to work. So that's that's part of being an entrepreneur while you're running a business. Isn't always about starting a new business, but we do a lot of innovations inside of our business that are very entrepreneurial. I'll give you a quick example. We figured out that a problem for seniors in their homes was they did not get good nutrition. They didn't cook for themselves. They don't have an appetite because of a lot of the medications they're on and things like that. So we decided that we would figure out how to deliver meals to them. And after working on that project for a couple of years, we figured out that we could partner with the community college in Traverse City and their commercial kitchen to actually deliver meals into our seniors' homes. And we were the first ones to do that out of the 700 Comfort Keeper offices around the country and around the world. We were the first ones to do this anywhere in the world, and we're very proud of that. And it's just, entrepreneurialism is fed by need, and we saw that need right away, that when we opened 13 years ago, that this is something that seniors need. So we were always looking for that next thing. And the other thing that's coming into our space is technology, and how technology will be used to monitor seniors' health in their homes. The latest thing that I saw was you got your blood pressure cuff that, we take blood pressure. Well, there's Bluetooth ones now that communicate with a platform that we can get that data back right away, and we can see across all the square miles that we serve what seniors are doing with their health. So there's all kinds of technology coming there. This is a funny thing. It took me a while to put that word leader up there, but as I'll talk about your personal brand, a lot about what you think about your personal brand, you get from other people. And I really never perceived myself as a leader or something I strove to be, a leader. But I always saw that there was a need in this organization or that organization to someone step up and take the lead here. And after a long time, my partner and wife said, you are a leader. And I said, no, I'm not a leader. I don't think of me that way. But sometimes it just happens to you because you see the need and you step up and you do the things that need to be done. And I've been very fortunate to work with lots of organizations to do that. Before we opened Comfort Keepers, we have another business that's called Traverse Management Resources, and that is a consulting business. And the majority of our clients were places like the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, the Michigan Library Association, the Michigan Arts Association. So we have a lot of experience working with other organizations and see what really good organizations did and how they operated compared to others. So when we rolled out Comfort Keepers, we knew that there was a lot of things that we saw that good leaders did and good teamwork did, and we wanted to imitate that. So that consulting business has been wonderful. And, now we're at a place in our life which we're very fortunate because now we just do that consulting pro bono for nonprofits that we really are passionate about. I'm a volunteer for Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and we have helped them with their strategic plan in Northwest Michigan for, I think the last 10 years. So it's a little bit about who I am and about what my personal brand is. And I just had to show off the picture. This knucklehead is in charge of Comfort Keepers worldwide. He's from Belgium. This gentleman's from France. This gentleman's from California, and he's from Dayton, Ohio. So, yeah, they were celebrating with us, and we had a good time. So, question for you all. What is your personal brand? What is a personal brand? Anybody have any? I've got a cold, so I can't talk a lot today, so.
Kind of like what makes yourself different and like distinguished from other people.
Excellent. Anybody else? Deb?
What people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah, we need Ron behind us all the time, right? So we can find out what people are saying about us. That's a good one.
Yeah, if you were to look your name up in the dictionary, what would your definition of you be?
I like that one. That's a good one, Nick. It is the qualities that make you unique identity, personality, and character. What it is. And I see you taking lots of notes. This is going to be available so somebody can download the.
Yeah.
Okay. I just always just. Yeah, you can take all the notes. I'm just the person that never wants to take the notes. So here you go, Deb. How you want to be perceived by others, and what do you want people to think about you when you're being interactive with those other folks? This is the one that's interesting. You got to be 100% authentic about you, and it will develop and evolve over time. You know, back in the day, I wasn't in any leadership position, so that really couldn't have been part of my brand. But as it evolved over time, it really did become part of my brand. Why is the brand important? Allison?
I don't know.
You saw these slides. You know the answers.
It's because people make judgments quickly about who you are. And so it can take one negative and you're done. And it takes a lot of positives to overcome that. So it's important for career advancement.
Absolutely. Anything else?
We all just have a lot of goals and how we want to be perceived and what actions we take, have a huge effect on what our network is, and our network is what we utilize to accomplish those goals.
You want to come up and take over here? You got the answers here. Yeah. What makes you different from everybody else? It'll help you achieve your personal and life goals. And, we're here talking mostly about professional, but the personal life goals are really important too, because if those two don't mesh, you're going to have a hard time being successful. Yeah, it might lead you to get a better job. If I'm amazed at how fortunate I am because of the networks that I have in Northwest Michigan, that I've been able to help a number of my colleagues' kids get jobs in Northwest Michigan because I've got a network, and people come to me and say, "Hey, Russ, my son Kevin is graduating. Could you help him out a little bit?" And I'm sure that's what it's all about. So it can lead to a better job. Better contacts and clients for the company that you're already working for. You can meet more people. If you've done internships, you've got those contacts, and they can be very valuable. And that goes on throughout your career. It's not just when you get your first job. It's when you want to expand, you want to try that new idea that you have. Those people will be there to help you. And there's an opportunity to have recognition in your industry. Allison wouldn't talk about it, but her husband is recognized for what he does in the IT industry. He works for Dow, and Vendors are asking them all the time to come and make presentations around the country. So having that recognition in your industry, it can be very powerful. And there's a lot more, but what I would say here is, like I said earlier, you've got the opportunity now to be conscious about your brand and how you're going to develop that brand and what you want it to be. Because if you don't, it will be assigned to you by those around you. Right, Deb?
Absolutely.
And we don't want that. We want to be in charge. So it really starts out with who you are. And there's 5 steps here. And like I said, the PowerPoint's available. So if you want to go back and do the 5 steps, we can do that. But it really starts out with number 1 is your values. What's most important to you? And if you're taking notes and you want to list some things, this is a good time to list them. What are some of the things that are really important to you? Anybody want to share?
Family.
Hey! Family! Good job, Allison. You should get a point there. These are kind of things that you would think about. Family, friends, volunteering. Volunteering is important to us and our family. Money's important. You know, we've got to have money to do things. And when you do those personality types, it always comes back that my personality type is one that needs money or he's very frustrated. Having fun. Loyalty. This one is high on my list, and it's an interesting thing that I deal with in business all the time. I'm very loyal to the vendors that have helped us get to the success point where we are. And I have colleagues all the time that say, Russ, why aren't you rebidding that insurance quote this year? You could get a better price. And yeah, I could probably get a better price, but when I really need those insurance people to step up and help out in our business with an issue that we've got, they know I've been loyal for a long time and they're there to help. So it's one of those things that's it's a two-way street about how you handle loyalty, but for me it's a big one. Collaborating, and Deb and I were talking about how this is really how your generation is going to operate in the marketplace and in business, is by collaboration. I think you do a lot of that already in everything that you do, and it's expected. And in our office, we have a management team, and no one person speaks for the management team. It is collaboration, and they do sit down, and they have some heated arguments and debates about how things should go, but it is always collaboration, and they are working on ideas together. Because nobody has them all. And when you're coming up with your list, if you're going to make this list, this is what you really want to consider. The people and feelings and situations that make you the most happy. It's usually where you're going to find those values. So you can think about it that way, right?
Yeah.
This was interesting. The next thing you really need to be able to do is prioritize those values, because there are going to be times when there's going to be conflict between your own values about what's going to be important. Is it going to be my family or my job or both? How do I get there? What will you do? And I mean, this is a cool thing to be able to think about. What will you do when you have that conflict? I mean, this does happen all the time in business world, where people have to make a decision about, is this the right thing for my career, or is this the right thing for my family? I have a really good friend who works for Whirlpool and has had the opportunity to have a promotion and travel around the world and live in different places that would have been very cool and always sounded really cool. But he turned those down over and over again because it was really important for him to stay in that town where he grew up and where his children were growing up, and he really wanted to raise this. So this does happen, and it happens at all levels. You need to just think about that so you can prioritize those things. Family and jobs might be at odds. This is an interesting one because when I'll be 60 years old this year. When I started my career in business, like, this wasn't even an issue. The company's values became your values. You really didn't have a choice to express your values to the company. They'd say, well, we'll just hire somebody else. And there was plenty of people to be had at that point. So this is something that I think is going to be happening more and more in the marketplace. I think Younger people have the voice that they never had before, and they very much treasure their values, and it's very important to them. So I think this is going to be something that people are going to have to think about and know how they're going to behave when that happens. Know yourself. This is hard. I mean, because we got to be honest with ourselves about who we are, what our shortcomings are, what our strengths are. Have any of you done personality testing like Myers-Briggs? Has everybody's done Myers-Briggs or True Colors? The one I would encourage you to use, if you haven't, is Strength Finders. It is based on a lot of data from hundreds of thousands of people, and it's really based on the notion that we all have faults, we all have weaknesses, but we all have some major strengths. And if we focus on our strengths and use the strengths that we have, probably end up being a better employee, a better leader, a better manager, whatever you want to be, because you have these strengths, they're already built into you and they are unique. And I'll tell you, I've done all the personality tests, and when you get the results back, it's a tiny little book, it's $20. And halfway through the book, you go online and do a 42-question survey. When you get that survey back and the results from that thing, it is amazing. You're like reading it saying, I never told anybody this. How would it know this? So I would encourage you to look at Strength Finders. It really focuses on the strengths that you have and how you can use those. And if you're interested, it goes on into then how do those strengths play out in the workplace when you're focusing on people that have these strengths versus these strengths. And I talked to you a little bit earlier about my wife and I understanding where our partnership works, and that's because she understands what my strengths are and I understand what hers are, and it wasn't always that way, but now we work pretty well together. What are your passions? What do you like doing in your time? This is another thing. Make that list and understand what that list is. Anybody think of some of the things that should be on this list? This is the fun stuff. Travel. Everybody's interested in doing a little bit of travel, right? Technology. And I thought about technology when I put this on, is technology as we're all using it here for professionalism, but technology as it's used for entertainment now, and all of the gaming systems and all of the technology that's used for entertainment. Virtual reality. Has anybody worn the goggles yet? You have? Have you?
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet. Should I do it? Is it freaky?
You use the really nice ones, it's incredible.
Really?
Don't play a horror game. Like, don't play a scary video game.
Oh, I don't do any scary stuff anyways, Lance. But get a good system, and it's.
Like if you have like a really nice computer with a really nice VR set, I put it on my friends, and it's an unreal experience. You can't describe it.
How will that impact experiences in the future?
It's the future. I think that.
So I will take that ski trip to Vail with my snowboard and never leave my couch?
I think you can. It'll be a thing where you can travel the world in your virtual reality world at some point, I'm sure.
That's so cool to think about. Yeah, technology everywhere. Music obviously is important to lots of folks. Hiking, getting out, and just doing something physical. I heard on the way here this morning that, we hear those statistics all the time about how obese we are as a country and how the percentage of obese people are in our population. And it went up again from last year, surprise, surprise. But also, the amount of people saying that they exercise regularly went up even more than the obesity rate. So are we all doing the wrong workout or what? I thought that was very interesting. But
8% of what you eat. That's what it is.
Yeah.
20% workout, 80% what you eat.
I know. See, I'm trying to get like Coney's put on the good list of stuff to eat, so. Oh, hit the button there twice. I put snowboarding up there because it's one of my passions. It's one of the things I love to do. It gives me time to think, and it gives me time to have fun. A lot of people, it's about reading and having the availability to lose your mind into a book and be in a totally different place. That's one of my wife's passions, and you can really tell when it's a good book because it's impossible to get her attention. But think about your passions. What are the interests that are important to you, your personal and professional life? And I would say that I'm very, very blessed because I get to live my personal and professional life all the time. Sometimes that's a blessing, and sometimes that's a curse. I have a home office, and I do most of my work in that home office, so I can go there anytime I want. Sometimes in the middle of the night when I have an idea, I get up and I run down there and make sure I don't forget it. But at the same time, when I'm trying to watch basketball on Sunday afternoon and that office is calling me, there's some work to get done here. But I see that happening more and more, and I'm reminded of a lot in Northwest Michigan because there's a lot of Native American tribes in northern Michigan. And that was the way of life back in the day. There was no balance between home life and professional life. They did it all at the same time. They had fun while they were working. They had fun while they were doing everything they needed to survive. So I can see with the technology that we have and the ability to live in New Mexico and do your job, that this personal life and professional life, it's going to blend more and more. And I see employers seeing that that's a necessity. If they want to recruit the best people, they got to have some flexibility about, I'm planning on having a baby in a few years, and how's that's going to work here, and those kind of things. So I think we're going to see more and more of that blending of professional and personal lives. Comments, Deb? Are you seeing that too?
Absolutely. The millennials are gonna change the workspace.
God, I hope so.
They don't want the 50-hour day.
Right.
One of the things we hear a lot is, remember, they've watched their parents do that for 30 years and complain about it. So traditional occupations, kids are running, young people are running from it because they watch their parents deal with that. That 7 to 5 grind Monday through Friday, and they're just finding ways to avoid it.
And employers are finding ways to accommodate.
Reluctantly.
Reluctantly, yes.
Because tech is allowing them to adapt. So some for sure are adapting and seeing if we want the top talent, yes, we'll work on a flexible schedule for you. And but that's really, you're spot on. It's about, do you want the top talent? Then you'll have to rearrange your workspace a little bit on their behalf.
Your space and how you think about them as employees and what you expect from them after hours, and there's lots of that stuff in the news lately, so we're going to hear more about that. What are your ideal traits that define your personality? Anybody want to throw out some ideas there? Should I just go to the answers? These are some that you typically hear about people. They're either outgoing or not. They're conscientious. You hear that. Again, this is one of the things that I wish there was more of in the business world, about people being conscientious about other people's feelings and how this is going to affect them. I think if employers can be more conscientious, they're going to be better at recruiting the really good talent, because they are thinking about things that are going to impact this person and their family and their job as they go forward. That's an important one for me. You can be agreeable or not. You could be a loner or not. You could be driven. That could be one of those important traits. Passive or not. What I want you to think about is, what are the 5 personality traits that you want to develop and think about? And, in everything, as you all know already, if you write it down or make yourself a list, you're going to think about this, and you're probably going to get to the point where you want to. It might take a little while, but you'll be able to get to the point if you start being conscious about that. Like I said, I wish I would have been conscious about this a long, long time ago. And I'm envious that you guys get to think about this now. This is where you do, after you make those lists, this is where you get the, the truth serum. Ask your friends, ask your family. I mean, make sure they're your good friends. About your values, your passions, and your traits. See what they say about those, because they might not necessarily align with what you think those are for you, and that's a good check. And if you have good friends and family that can share this with you honestly, that'll help you make sure that you got your brand aligned with what your goals are. And the perception matters. That was my screensaver on my computer for a very long time. Perception is the only reality, because this is how people see you. This is what matters to them. So if you get this feedback from your family and friends and it doesn't align with what you think they are, remember their perception matters, and that's probably the reality that you're dealing with. So it's a good thing for you to think about. I'm really bad at flipping the pages and flipping the screen. Yeah, just what I talked about. Get the feedback. It's really important to do. I would say don't do it with your girlfriend or boyfriend right off the bat. Do it with one of your family members or some of your other friends, because you don't want to mess up that relationship, right? And what do you need to learn from those perceptions? Those are important things. If people have that perception, dig down a little bit. Why do they have that perception? What happened in your past or in their past with you that makes them think that of you? It's important to ask those questions and find out where they're coming from. So this really sums it up for me about your personal brand. It's about how others are going to view you and what you stand for. I mean, those are two big things if you think about both of them. How others perceive you and what you stand for. Because we can go through life not standing for anything, or we can stand up and be for everything, but it's important for people to know what you stand for. Make sure that those are aligned with your goals. It's obvious to me that you folks have goals of what you want to do, and you've got some plans for your future. So make sure that your brand is aligning with those. And be very conscious of your words and actions, and make sure they're consistent. When I have felt like I've put my foot in my mouth over my career, it's because I wasn't consistent. I had said something to my team one day about this is how I feel about what we need to do, and then demonstrated a behavior shortly after that was not consistent with what I said. And man, if I could unring that bell 1,000 times, I wish I could. So be really consistent and think about it. And we're such a society that wants to have the answer and be first, but stop and think about your words and your actions, because they will make a huge difference in the perception of the future. Beth?
Yeah, I actually have a great example that happened recently. I was working with someone, a young professional who won a job for a nonprofit, and part of the responsibility was to be a program developer for youth. Right? Fantastic job opportunity. And so we happened to be friends on Facebook, and so she was using it for a casual space as well. And she posted something about how she's been parking between the parking lines. She has a new car, and she hopes that the blank police don't catch her, something like that, right? And so I reached out to her and I said, as your career coach, I just have to point out to you that you need to manage your personal brand now. You're in a position of management for a nonprofit managing youth. Be very conscious that your word is consistent.
That's a great example because of the social media world that we live in now. And for me, it was really easy to compartmentalize those because that Facebook thing was just for fun, and I don't really post anything about my business life there. But as we see people now have had social media for a long time and then move into a career, it does have to transition.
It does.
And people have to be conscious of that. That's a great point. So here's the important thing. Thank you. Listen, my contact information is on there. The place where I got this guidebook that was footnoted there, so you can get all that information. And also, you got any questions? Call me. I'm more than willing to talk to you and help you out in any way, or just if you guys want to just bounce some things off of me, or if you got a new idea of a product you want to bring to the market, I'm always.
I got a handful.
Really? I love it. I love it.
I have an idea,
Okay.
because I saw it on Frontline. So for you entrepreneurs, there's a huge gap, and they're calling it the elder orphans. And what's happening is we have an aging population they made the decision to not have any children.
Oh.
So you have orphans in the healthcare industry that have no advocates. And there's a huge problem in that area. So if you're at all into entrepreneurial, you like the idea of healthcare management, I'm telling you, you want to look at this phenomenon called elder orphans and see if you can line up your passions with that need and become an advocate for elderly who have no children or other blood relatives who can be advocates for them as they age. Massive, major problem in our growing population.
And we see that in our business all the time.
Elder orphans. I got your back.
That's nice.
So last night, even when we're talking about, your brand and digital, and you hear, Northwood students are very creative. How do you get them ideas? You plug into reliable news channels and you listen and you see what's happening in the economy. That is a major gap in service, and if you've got the wherewithal to come up with a business plan and an idea to help these elderly, that's a business plan that'll be a winner for sure.
Yeah, Nick?
Elder orphans. I think the next big idea is going to come out of the Uber type scene, where we're talking about our generation doesn't really wants a new way to work, and it's the whole I want to work for myself, I want to drive my car around, I'm going to work through Uber. And you see the Shift company in Meyer when you're walking around, it's like moms who are just trying to make money during the day while their husbands are at work and they have their kids. It's going to be that next business that you can just pull up the app and work for this company and work for yourself. So figuring out whatever that is, that's going to be the next big company.
I stick with that thought process because it is happening across all industries.
Yeah.
And it's happening, I told you about our industry, we do in-home care for seniors. There's a Silicon Valley startup that is looking at, you don't go through a company, you go directly to the individual who's providing the care, and you go online and you look at their resume and you contact their references, and it's the same model as Uber. And those people are cutting out the middleman. They're having some issues with that because the supervision and those kind of things and quality of care. But I see that Uber model being transferred over and over, and I think you're spot on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to transition into putting all of this online. This is kind of a tag team between Deb and I, but we only have one mic. I mean, I guess you guys aren't really hearing through the mic. But Dad, if you have anything you want to jump in with too, feel free.
No, I can give some of this.
Oh, right.
Audio.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this is Deb's quote. I'll let her introduce it.
Okay, great. So I found this quote very interesting as we are working on developing this content, because this is really the truth. So we live in a world where your online reputation can be your strongest asset or your biggest liability. And it's a world now where companies will hire not really based on your resume and cover letters, but on information they're going to find online. And we really pounded that out yesterday when we had our coach Ron Nash webinar. He really talked about your digital brand. And so we thought this would be apropos to start off why we're here today, and we want to help you develop a professional brand that then transfers quickly into a portfolio called a website.
Yeah. All right, so a lot of people don't think that they need personal websites. I don't think that any of you are those people because you are here. But everyone has a resume that they send to employers. Everybody has cover letter. Your personal website is what's going to set you apart. Even if, in a few years, everyone has a personal website, they're a place where you have more real estate to show off who you really are, what you have actually done, in a way that is not bullet points, and it does not just fit on one sheet of paper. Like I said, you can kind of show your work. You don't just tell it. Anybody can come up with bullet points of their job description. But if you can say, here's this project that I've actually done, take a look at it, that really has more impact. You can demonstrate your technological skills. Merely the fact of building a website, even if you do it on a platform like Squarespace, like I did, that's super easy. You don't need code, but they still look professional, and they show that you can at least get into these platforms and show what you're doing. And you can control your digital narrative. My example that I like to say or to tell is that my name's Allison Spoolhoff, which is a little bit of a different last name, but there is another Allison Spoolhoff who is a doctor in Minnesota, so probably has a lot more professional credentials and things like that than me. And there's also an Allison Spoolhoff who's a softball player, and a pretty good one because she comes up in my Google alerts all the time. But if you Google my name, I come up first. My LinkedIn, my Facebook, my website all come up first, and so I'm controlling the digital narrative about my name. And it's not things from, high school, or I guess that I had a different name then, but that's a bad idea, example. But then what I want people to see comes up when you Google me. And if you have a common name, this is a really important thing to do. Google yourself often. Set up Google alerts to get sent to your email so that you can know what is being out there. Being shown out there with your name. We did this exercise in one of my master's classes, and one of the other guys who had a little bit of a different name found out that when you Googled him, it came up with a whole list of felony charges that he had committed. So he wanted to take charge of that immediately and make sure that he was doing some work so that when employers went out and looked for them, they could easily find him as a person and know that he is different from this person who is committing all these crimes. And you can cut down on attachments. This is just kind of a bonus one. A lot of times when you're filling out applications, they want to see writing samples and different things. And this is just a way to send them, here, go, kind of go look at what you want. You might have to still upload these things if they ask for them, but you won't have to send an email with, 15 different attachments in it.
Showing your work, things that you've done, is it too much to show how you did the whole project, from beginning to end? Is that too much to put in there, or is it just?
I think that if you have at least one example of that, that's really excellent, especially if you do it in a succinct way. That's either a video or a presentation or something like that. That's something someone can hit play and kind of see. They don't have to jump here and there and kind of figure it out. Yeah. So how to get started. This is, you're selling yourself, but decide what about yourself that you are selling. Kind of back to the personal brand, why we had Russ go first, is that think about who you are, what you are actually selling. Don't just be out there to get, any job that you can possibly get, unless, if that's your goal, that should be pretty easy. But if there's a certain job that you're trying to get in a certain industry, that's really what you want to talk about on your website and your portfolio.
Let me take just a few minutes and talk about what are those skills that you want to identify on your web-based portfolio. So there's really a few categories. We call them transferable skills and then professional values. And let's get a little bit into the transferable. So there's the first group of transferable skills are what we call your technical and your professional skills. These are the skills that are required to perform the job or the career that you're seeking. This is going to be the skill set that your degree major and minors say you can do. Okay? So they're mandatory if you want to land a job within the profession. So an example would be an accounting professional. Okay, they're going to learn the technical skills of tax laws and IRS forms, only things that relate to their industry. Okay? marketing professionals. They're going to learn SEO and SEM and other methods of optimizing user data. And so that's what the degree says, the technical majors say, and that you must identify because it's going to allow you to work in that industry. The next group is what we call true transferable. Now these can be transferable in some contexts, but generally speaking, the BBA or your MBA at Northwood. Remember, when you ever work with our career team, you're going to learn you've got multiple credentials you bring to an employer. You bring your technical skills, as we're talking about here, that your major says you can do, but the ones that are most coveted in the marketplace today are these transferable skills, and here's why. There's such a shortage of good leadership talent. Employers now realize they can teach you their product, they can teach you their service, they cannot teach you how to use computers, how to communicate, collaborate, how to use the critical thinking process to solve problems, how to multitask, which actually is a combination of the skill of time management and organization. You can't multitask if you can't manage your time. Teamwork, creativity, leadership, adaptability, these are what we call the core transferable skills that come with you into any industry. Those are what your BBAs and your MBAs say that you can do. So you want to make sure you identify them on your website. And ultimately, as we heard Russ talk about and Allison, what are your personal values? What motivates you? Employers want to know your passion. Why do you want to work here? Why do you want to work in this industry? If you can't answer that question, then I would encourage you to go back and understand what motivates me. Russ did a great job helping you identify what you might want to do there in terms of identifying motivation. Are you motivated to help the nonprofit sector? Are you motivated to be a player in the new gig economy? Commitment, reliability, we hear it all the time. Where are the young people who want to do the grind and learn and show up? If you're that individual and that's a value statement for you, you go ahead and put that on your website. Ultimately, how many of you know that Northwood's Code of Ethics is the mnemonic fresh air?
I do. They do.
If you use that on your website, and you could literally list the mnemonic fresh air, freedom, respect, and identify that I line up with my professional values, or my professional values line up in this way. And so those are the skills that we really would like to see you identify on at least a tab or something as we get a little bit further on, and then you can have another tab that talks about show my work.
And I would add to that, Deb,
Yep.
that I see from the SHRM people that I talk to all the time, they're testing for some of those transferable skills more than they ever have.
Ever. Mm-hmm. Great.
Thanks, Deb. This is kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of what you actually want to put on your website. So what I would recommend first and foremost is to go out and look at some other portfolio sites. If you Google portfolio sites, you'll usually get some photographers, artists, things like that. Try your best to find someone in the field that you are trying to be in and mimic what they have on theirs, or find out what you like about theirs and what you don't like, what you think that they could improve. What about this professional would you want to know? And then kind of jot some notes down about that. A little bit, we went back to being yourself. If you are a really outdoorsy person, even if your portfolio isn't about being outdoorsy, maybe add a little bit of tweaks to that, have some leaves and some photos or something like that. Be yourself and show off who you really are. If you're a very stylish, fashionable person, kind of add some of those elements so that you can show some of those, quote, softer skills, the creativity, things like that. Let your values and things shine through. Think about the structure of your website. Don't just put everything that you've ever done on there. Really put some time into thinking about how you want to display things, what you want to display, how people are going to find it. Don't just assume that if you put all these links on a page that people are going to take the time to click through each and every one of them. They want to see the highlight reel. Write an outline down of kind of what your structure is going to be. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but your structure can be very simple. You don't need to have pages and subpages and all of these different things unless it makes sense. So the copy on your website is going to be the most important thing, that and visuals, but your copy is going to be what draws people in. So you're going to have an about page and things like that. So take the time to not just say, I'm Steve, I'm a marketing major, I want to work in this industry. Let your passion show through in your copy, but make sure that it is short and succinct and really grabs the reader right away. On a way to get a hold of you on every page, your email address, a form that they can fill out, your cell phone number, all of that. You want to choose great visuals. Make sure that you are using visuals that you actually have permission to use. So either take them yourself, or there's some great sites online. Pexels is one I use for stock photography. So if you're really focused into the automotive industry or things like that, you can get some good photography that will look really good on your site. If you use a site like Squarespace, I don't know if all of them do, but Squarespace does have stock photos that you can use as well. So just make sure that you're intentionally choosing your photos. Again, kind of the ones that hint at your personality. And then anything else that adds value to your personal, professional brand images. So whether that's videos or I'm trying to think of other examples, but videos are great. Anything that can really, show what technological skills you have, what some of your other soft skills, as well as, your typical resume bullet points.
I want to take just a quick second, and I want to talk real brief about writing and your communication skills, your About Me page. You get to decide how you write that copy, but one of the things that I think is really powerful is when a page starts off with, why are you in this occupation? You'll find that when you really counsel students, and I'll say, well, why marketing? What is it about marketing? And they'll say, well, you know what? I really like working with data, and I like using data to form pictures. Perfect. Write that down. I learned it actually from Beth. It's called the passion statement. What's your passion? Why are you an entrepreneur? Why are you in that industry? I think that is really a powerful, so get personal. I mean, some of the fashion management students, I'll say, why are you in this industry? Because since I can remember, I love putting style together with my dolls. Say it. Employers want to know, why are you selecting this industry? That's a perfect spot for you to communicate your passion. Thank you. I think it's okay to,
with your example with the dolls, it's okay to be a little bit cheesy. It's okay to be tone it, keep it professional, but I think that, everyone can have super professional writing. It's easy to have all the grammar correct and just get the points across, but when you get into the little bit of the passion and why you really like this, that's what really shows through.
Here's a great example. A young fellow in the our auto degree major, he wants to reinvent and surge interest back in power motorsports. If you know about that industry, it's really in the tank right now. Young people are not buying motocross, motorcycles, snowmobiles, that whole motorsports industry that he's passionate about. And he's like, Ms. Schumer, I just see it going away. I go, then what's your passion statement? I want to make a difference and I want to make that surge again. So make that be your statement. And he wrote that out on his summary on his LinkedIn page, and he's already had 2 hits from people in the motorsports industry because they want to hire people who want to passionately take that industry to the next level, which would be to the young people. Get your passion statement written. It's powerful.
I think this is an awesome idea. Did you put this in here? I don't have one, but I think it's great. To prepare a 1-minute video that's just you explaining why this is so important to you. It's the passion statement, but from your own words, and I think that's a great idea, and I really need to do this for my own website. Some tips or tricks. If you have a hard time writing about yourself, which a lot of people do, have your friend or a colleague write out some notes for you, or just ask them, hey, can you write out 100 words about me? And then kind of take that and craft it into what you really want to put in your website. Usually other people will say a lot nicer things about you than you will say about yourself, and they can see what you have accomplished and things that maybe you don't necessarily see as accomplishments, they do. So I think that's a great way to start out if you're not sure where to start with your own bio. And like we talked about before, like I said, if you Google portfolios, you'll see a lot of artists, but it's not just for artists. You have to think creatively when you're a marketer or when you're in management or finance about how you're going to show these things off. How can you visually show what you have actually done? It's its own art in itself. It's not as easy as taking a photograph and putting it there. But what can you put up there? Can you make an infographic of some discoveries you've made through your courses? Is there a visual way? Is there a video that you can put up, like we said, talking about your process from start to finish? Different things like that. So I think it gets a little bit overwhelming because a lot of those things, designing an infographic, making a video are a lot of work, but you don't need to have 20 of them up there like a photographer might have of all their photos. You just need a couple really great examples. We have talked about this throughout the day, but be authentic but professional. And don't try to be everything to everyone. We talked about this at the beginning, but if your goal is just to get a job, you probably don't actually need all of this, but if you want a specific job in a specific industry, really be that. You don't have to say, I do have marketing skills and financing skills and accounting and all these things, even if you have taken this course here and there. Really focus in on what you want. And then make sure that you are talking about some of those transferable skills as well, but you're not, trying to get every single job that is out there. We talked about writing an outline already. Apparently, I'm very excited about the outlines. And you don't have to link, I said you don't have to link to social media. You don't have to link to every account that you have. My recommendation that works for me is to have some of your accounts be for personal and some of your accounts be for professional. Not to say, so on my Facebook, I am friends with my boss, so I make sure that everything that I post on Facebook, I would be okay with my boss seeing, but I don't post a lot about work. It's about my friends and family on Facebook. My Twitter, however, is kind of where I go to interact with other higher ed marketers and things like that. So that's kind of how I have curated my Twitter. So on my portfolio, I link to my Twitter and I link to my LinkedIn because obviously that's kind of my professional place. So the Twitter, I don't keep totally professional. It's professional, but I also am really into curling, and so it's a place where I'll interact with curlers a lot. So I think it's a good place that you can see that I'm I have a fun outside life. Nothing, I don't really post pictures of my husband and dog on there, but then you can also see where I interact with different, higher ed marketers and things like that. So if someone's interested in what I'm interested in the industry.
So I do have some tips for particularly our students. So now I know some of you are seniors, so you've been here some time. So think about a project that you've developed that maybe you completed that project for an assignment, and you can take that project, maybe it's a data-driven activity, and you can morph that over into creating a pivot table with it. You can then load that up on your website. Or maybe you've done some writing in a particular class, and you can take a copy of that writing, save it as a PDF, and upload that into your writing. So I'm confident there would be some good quality work that you guys have already done here at Northwood to use for your website. It's all about branding and showing I've done this. So like some of our economics majors, they work a lot with data and they do that for an assignment. But now, can you drill down and find a data set and move that over maybe into a bar graph? So you can show somebody on your website, I started with this and this was my final result. Now that shows them that you can take that process right from the beginning to the end. And look and see, you probably already have lots of samples of things that you can load on your page.
Oh. Oh, I said ask for feedback again. So these are, I'm sure you've heard of all of these different platforms that you can use. I'm most familiar with Squarespace, and I love Squarespace. There is not much coding. There's no coding to be done if you don't want to be, but you can dig into the code. There are different templates out there specifically for portfolios, or you can you can use one that's not specifically a portfolio and kind of tweak it to what you have. I have made my own personal website on there. I helped with the Northwood Style Show fashion website. I created one of the other entrepreneurial things my dad does is they own a small resort up north. We created a website for that. So they're all vastly different, but you know, it was a great platform for all of them. I'm not getting paid to say this, I swear, even though I do have a discount code for you. So I really like Squarespace. I have used WordPress. WordPress is great if you are a little bit more technical. I think that you can get into some really cool things. I have only basic code knowledge though, so I like Squarespace. But they're all pretty good. I haven't used Wix or Weebly, so I can't tell you that much about those. But I've heard they're all pretty good. Oops, wrong way. And so one thing that with Squarespace you get, and I'm sure you do with other platforms as well, is the opportunity to get a domain name that will help you set it up and connect it directly to your website. So really think about what your website is going to be called. Mine's AllisonSpoolhoff.com. If you have a pretty unique name, that's something that you can use. But if not, really think about what you want it to be. Don't just kind of put numbers at the end or something like that like we do with our email addresses. Really think about, for SEO purposes, what if someone's Googling you, and then if your name's John Smith and they are trying to find you to find out what you've done in the auto industry, really include that in your URL. If it's, I mean, John Smith might be hard. I did check that URL. It does not exist. Somebody might own it, but I don't know. But then there's so many different extensions that you can have these days. I think just about any word can be an extension. So if it's John Smith Portfolio, John Smith Automotive, John Smith Cars, you know, there's a ton of different things that you can put on your extension. You'll just have to make sure that you really emphasize that when you are putting it on your resume and other things, because putting .com is just so ingrained in people's minds. So the structure is, you can keep it really simple. Like I said, I would not recommend subpages unless you have something that really, you know, if you're going down to, you know, talking about a project and then you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, then maybe go down and have some subpages. But I will show you my example of my website in a minute. I think these are the 4-5 pages that I have. Less really is more. I shouldn't say nobody, but likely nobody's going to go to your website and spend 20 minutes there. They might go for 2 minutes, get, you know, a good example or a good idea of who you are, what you can do with your website, how professional you seem, maybe look at one project, and then they're going to get out of there. So this is, I didn't think she can talk really quick about how easy it is to do a Squarespace site. So I like this really quick video.
An About page is a staple of nearly every professional site. It can include a brief history or mission statement, testimonials, links to social profiles, and more. We'll go over tips for adding an About page to your Squarespace site. In the Home menu, click Pages, then click the plus icon. In the New Page menu, select Page. This adds a regular page to your site. Enter a title for the page. Then, select a starter layout. We recommend an About layout or blank layout. About layouts offer 3 designs with a mix of body text, headers, and images. Replace placeholders with your own content, or go beyond the starter layout by adding and rearranging blocks. Blank is a blank slate where you can add different combinations of blocks to form a custom layout of text, images, and content. This is a great option if you already know how you want to structure your About page. We'll start with a blank layout. Click Start Editing to begin adding content. Now, we'll cover some of the common blocks you can use to add content to your About page. You can use all of these methods, or just pick the ones that work for your site. To add any of these blocks, click an Insert point, or the plus icon, then select from the block menu. Use a text block to add a bio, company description, or brief history to your About page. Use the heading style to add headings, and use the normal style to add body text. Use image blocks to add images like headshots, team photos, and other visual elements. You can pair these images with text blocks, even floating images and wrapped text to create unique layouts. Use a social links block to add icons or buttons that lead to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and other social profiles. Ensure you've already connected the accounts you want the block to link to. Use quote blocks to add quotes from clients you want to stand out from other text. You can use a grid gallery block to display logos of previous clients or customers. To link each logo to the client's websites, use click-through URLs. After you've finished adding blocks, drag and drop them around the page to create a custom layout. Then click Save to publish your changes. Let us know if you have any other questions. We're always here to help.
So just to include that, just to show you that it's not hard, and if you have a Facebook page, you can probably do it. I am a Squarespace authorized trainer, so I do have some connection to the company, but like I said, they don't pay me. But if you want me to help with your site, I'm more than happy to. I do have a discount code up there. I might have changed since it became a new year. So if you have any trouble with the code, just let me know. Or I can always set the site up and then hand it to you, and then you still get your 20% off. And it does come with a free domain name. And they help you check to make sure it's got the availability. It has all of the new fancy extensions like .portfolio, .life, things like that. Yep.
Is there an annual fee with Squarespace?
Yeah.
Or is it, can I just buy the site outright, or is it always through Squarespace?
You can buy the domain name outright. I don't know if you can transfer. I assume you can transfer it to a different server, but I've never tried to do that, so I don't know.
So I have to pay pretty much indefinitely to keep my site up.
You'd have to pay if you make it through Squarespace and you want to keep it on Squarespace servers. You'd have to pay Squarespace indefinitely. But if you move it to your own server, you wouldn't have to. If you move it to a different server, you just have to pay whoever hosts your site. So, does that make sense?
So in other words, then there's the fee for the domain name, and then
Yeah.
there's the fee for using Squarespace.
Yes. The domain name comes free for the first year. The domain name, depending on what your name is, mine, I think I pay $10, $20 a year. And then for Squarespace, it's for a personal site, it's less than $200 a year to keep it. But so yeah, that's a different, different trade-offs. You're always going to pay for server space wherever you're hosting it, unless you have your own server. Yes, so that's kind of more the technical side, though. I don't think I have anything else. I think this is the last slide. Any questions? Sure. Yep. I have it pulled up. This is my site. It's a big picture of me.
Great shot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a few years old. But so I have down here my About page. It's really short and sweet. It links to my resume. But, I kind of got touchy-feely in there. I'd say I'm a storyteller and a dream weaver. Which are things I didn't want to say that I am a marketer and a writer. Should I make it bigger?
Yeah.
Whoop. Yep. So, I didn't want to just say, I'm a marketer, I'm a writer, I know how to use social media, things like that. I wanted it to be more of, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I do. So, like, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I did, try to be a little bit more unique than just kind of hashing out my resume in a paragraph. I'm gonna go back. Okay. And then I was originally a journalism major, and then I kind of transitioned into marketing. So I have my writing on here. I have both my professional and my personal writing. I don't do a whole lot of personal writing anymore. But when I did, it was all on here. Now I just have a couple things. Because I think that personally, for my my personal writing, it shows my abilities and my creativity a little bit more. When I've worked for papers or publications, you kind of just have to write what they're telling you to write about. So I wanted to show off with my personal writing a little bit of when I don't have these constraints. This is what I can do. And then I chose to just pick one kind of each type of writing that I have done and put an example there instead of listing everything that I've ever written. Then I say on there, if you want to see more of my appeal letter writing, then go ahead and contact me, and I can show you, give you all the appeals that I've ever written. So that's how I chose to set it up. I think honestly this could be more visual. I just haven't taken the time to do it. So writing's part of my professional persona, and then marketing obviously is a huge part of it. So I go into a little bit about social media and what I've done on the web and video. This also probably could be a lot more visual than it is. I think there's some opportunity for some tiles and things like that. But it's this took me a weekend to create. I have updated it, here and there. I'm not actively searching for a position, probably, which is why I've neglected it, which I shouldn't do, I know. So like I said, when I was looking for jobs, it took me not very long at all. Once I had all of the, I had written my about, I had decided what I wanted to put on here, found all the links of all my old stuff, did not take me very long at all. And then, like I said, have a way to contact you. I know that seems obvious. But for one of those personal blog posts I did on a wedding website back when I was engaged, somebody saw my blog post there. They must have Googled my name. They found me. They contacted me through my website, and then they asked me to speak for their class, which was a cool professional opportunity for me. So just make sure that people can find you no matter how you're putting yourself out there in the digital space. Any questions?
Visual is always better than text. So you can do text, but definitely want to do some tiles. And then I believe you should hyperlink that visual graphic to maybe a subpage. Beth?
Yeah, Coach Ron Nash yesterday, one of his, I call them Ronisms, he said, a photo travels 60,000 times faster than text. An image.
Yeah. Think about that.
Struck me pretty powerful, yeah.
We are getting more and more away from the text, so yeah.
Yeah.
So tile it, make it a hyperlink, and it can lead its way to text. But when they first land on your page, it could be that tab, could be sample of my work, sample of things we've done. We're here to help you, your career team, and Allison. But the more you can make videos and the more you can put graphics, the better off you're going to be in terms of today's attention span.
Yeah. Well, Bob Whistler told me this morning that his students told him that they only click on my tweets, like Northwood tweets, when there's a photo of somebody they know. And I was like, well, I can't put photos of someone on everything, but.
So imagine your About Me page with a quick little 1-minute video where you're talking about who you are. That's a difference maker than a paragraph of text.
Yeah, or photos of what you're passionate about.
There it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Like on my writing page, if I had, for my opinion section, a photo, each of those links was a tile instead of that. That'd be a really good idea. Maybe I should do that.
Any other questions?
So now the goal would be really, structure, you know, get pen to paper and write out what you think you want to put. Create up an outline. That's still a good approach to going in to design something. And how will this flow on my page? And what do I want on there? And then start gathering your materials together and then go for it.
Yep. And I'm happy to meet with you if you need a little help on either the platform side or writing anything of this out. I'm here on campus, so.
Pick her up on that.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.